What's going on, traders? Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital. We made it through Opex team. First off, what I want to do, aside from our risk disclaimer, I want to give a shout out to all the members of the Pristine Capital trading community. I want to give a huge shout out to Yarrow, Uncle Drew, Tape Reader, everyone that's been active, BDY. I also want to give a shout out to everyone that's just been supporting the YouTube channel, supporting the Twitter content. We have Zane, who is a long-time watcher of these videos. Zane is like one of the first people that followed. We have Martian Statistician, who's been active on the feed, Jarvis Alerts, all these different people. I just want to thank you for, giving this content a look and, just holding it down. Let's talk about options expiration. If you've been watching these videos, you know our thesis that we've had, and it's really just that everyone is so incredibly bearish. We got bearish positioning, bearish flows. Pretty much everyone's out of the market. So I did start positioning in a lot of these growth names fully long, and today we really did have to fly in the face of fear for this Opex. We had the S&P 500, it finished up 0.04%. NASDAQ QQQ finished down 0.31%. IWM small caps down 0.25%. Dow completely flat. Those dogs of the Dow. Then the ARK Innovation ETF finished out down 1.44%. Trend model flipped intraday to a -3. Then it flipped back to a -1. Volatility was slightly bid across the board and breadth was mixed. Added this into the mix up here, our up volume and down volume. We had 52.3% down volume. At one point, this was over 90%. And this is the nuance that many investors and traders are going to miss. Today, the Fed blinked. Bullard, this was his statements from earlier, post this in our group. Fed's Bullard says the market repricing is partly due to the Fed and partly due to prices before the downturn can be lowering rates in 2023 or 2024 if we get inflation under control. That is the first time in quite a while they've said anything that isn't just completely hawkish. And he basically said, hey guys, like these inflation numbers start coming down. And remember, we already saw last week our first inflation data that was a month-over-month sequential slowdown. That was all that it took to get these people saying slightly more dovish things. Now, today was options expiration. Options expiration is always just such a wild day. For me, my goal is to really just not actively trade on options expiration. So you'll notice this from our Pristine Capital Discord. Take a look. I always record a pre-market webinar, and then I always just put some notes after. I do some analysis in the morning, post it in here, etc. I just talked about some of the risks associated with trading too actively on Opex day. Opex is a great day to reduce the screen time, expect the unexpected. Basically, like, even if you are like me or like us, that we have this thesis that the path of least resistance is likely higher, we just know anything's possible. Today could have been a -3% day, and at one point it really did look like it was going to be. So yeah, part of for me, running a trading community, having people that are active in here, it's not just about like, oh guys, we're gonna get rich quick, and like running like a like a glorified gambling ring. Part of it is just being like, guys, there's no edge, and yeah, I'm not gonna do anything. That's like sometimes the best thing that you can do. But let's dive into the price action. I did end up trading today, and we ended up sniping a nice little winner. Before we go any further, nothing in the videos, investment advice, recommendations. Follow your own trading plan, your own risk parameters. Don't YOLO your entire account to any one of my trades. Finviz heat map. So the two big losers for today, we had Tesla and Nvidia that were just very, very weak throughout the entire session. And let's actually dive into the Tesla chart because this could come in handy later on. And at one point, this heat map was completely bloody red. Tesla and Nvidia, I would put them in this basket of stocks that just everyone has owned for so long. They're likely pretty overvalued, and these companies just commanded these crazy premiums because, hey, these are the best companies in America, or so deemed by investors. So hey, it doesn't really matter whatever price, we buy Tesla, we buy Nvidia. And with Tesla, this thing's really like a call casino. But as things come unglued, Tesla and Nvidia, these were sort of like the last generals to fall. Now Tesla, there's a VPOC down here at $609.48. And I'm actually kind of surprised we did not tag that level. That could be something to look for on Monday. Everyone is super excited, including myself right now, that the market didn't careen into the abyss. Who knows, maybe we get some sort of tag of this 609 level, on Monday or Tuesday to start the week. Everyone gets super afraid again. It's kind of like, for most people, they're just kind of, especially like price action traders, you're just kind of going off the last like 5-minute candle they see, and based on that, they're either being bearish or bullish. But anyway, I digress. Let's take a look at our sectors. Solar energy stocks have moved into our top momentum slot. And behind that, we have the Chinese Technology Fund and also emerging markets, internet and e-commerce. Typically don't see these leading when the market's crashing. It's typically not the recipe for a crash. And then at the bottom of our list, we have the blockchain assets. We've got consumer discretionary and retail. In consumer discretionary and retail, these were sort of like two other generals that have been the last to fall in this line of domino style factors. We closed out the day with, what was our leader? International value. So it is very interesting that a lot of these other countries, they're decoupling from the US and they're actually outperforming the US. And we had Minvol up 0.66%. Now, this options expiration, this was a journey. This was legendary. You know, we were talking in our group pretty much throughout the whole day, you know, just about expecting the unexpected. This could be an absolutely legendary day. And, you know, here I am. I'm 100% long the market. Everyone's saying that the market's going to crash. So honestly, I just kind of embraced it. I was not going to chase the open. We ended up having a big gap higher to start the day. Let's dive into today's price action, and the market just kind of ran like the first few minutes. I was like, no way am I doing this on Opex. I'm not going to chase anything, not going to do anything. I gotta say, I was a little bit surprised that this just careened into the abyss, and we actually undercut the prior lows. This is our hourly chart of the S&P 500. We had prior lows around 38.50. We went all the way down to 38.07. So RIP, everyone that got their stops taken. You know, it's just part of the game. What I've noticed is these algos, I have a feeling they pretty much know where any human's gonna put their stop. And whenever the market gets into any period of stress, like it's almost just like a law of nature that they're gonna take that stop. But anyway, the good news is that we took out those stops and then we moved higher. We retraced all of the losses. So absolutely crazy bonkers day. I did not get shaken out of any of my positions, which was great. So yeah, it helps if you're not trying to like chase every little wiggle in the market, especially when the market's this volatile. You can really just stay a little bit more dialed in and a little bit more focused, and it sort of prevents you from just getting like washed out of all your positions. But yeah, this was around like 243. Post this in our group as well. And this was, mind you, when the market was on the lows. Here are my thoughts. We hit the final hour of the session. We've been in this capitulation phase of the sell-off since mid to last week. Each day a new group is taken out. We knew that the momentum was to the downside today and everyone was fearful and that the day could be a wild card. Pretty much every fund has a little exposure to the market. And investors, they're loading up on put options. We hit extremes in the total put to call ratio today intraday. And then I put here almost every big turn in the market coincides with an options expiration, and we have one today. So I said for this reason, I think today will be the worst day to capitulate and take down exposure, especially when we have these month-end rebalancing flows that they're going to be flowing into equities at the end of the month. So yeah, I think we've just made it through some of the worst seasonality of the year. Of course, we still have these ongoing issues with the economy, but I must say with how washed out we got today, this does seem like, let's say you have been on the sidelines, this is like a pretty ideal location to put some dry powder to work. And I actually did play off of the pivot today when we started moving off the lows. So take a look here. These are my trades for the day in the options. ONDS, this is a name that I sold puts on that I just figured, hey, I'll sell these put options and I want to take delivery of this stock. I like this story long term. This is basically the American leader in drone technology. So I said, hey, while everything is sold off, I want to see if I can get a position on in this small cap firecracker of a name, to be honest. So I took delivery of this stock, which is good, perfectly fine with that. Slight winner on the position just to start it. I got a slightly cheaper cost basis than I would have. At 331, this was my only opening trade today. I sat the entire day, admiring the price action, honestly. But at 330, I noticed that something just seemed a little bit different. So let's go over to this 5-minute chart. Yeah, let's see, this was at 4 o'clock. Yeah, things really started to change. Like you can see we came off and suddenly we just hit this point of no return where we sort of like broke out here. This is like your worst nightmare. If you're bearish or you're shorting the market today, all of a sudden seeing us, start to break to the upside. So I got long some calls and I just rode this bad boy higher into the end of the day. So that was my only entry. And that's honestly like as I progress as a trader and I continue my own development, I don't want to be that punter or that like trying to trade like every single wiggle of like a 5-minute tick or whatever. Like I want to be a sniper and really just trade when it's appropriate. When it's not appropriate, just try to stick to the sidelines as much as I can. So yeah, that one got a nice little snipe on that. Also, I took delivery of some TQQQ May 20th 36 strike puts. Now this one, I took delivery of this at 34.44. This was definitely my one like whoopsie of a trade this season. And this is kind of like the nature of selling options. Like I had a bunch of pretty much like 100% winners this season, but this one I'm taking delivery at a cost base of 34.44. TQQQ is trading much lower than that right now. In just like many other circumstances, I probably would have just closed it out, been like, hey, I'll just accept the loss. But given where we are in the market and the fact that I really think the market could have a pretty violent bounce next week, I was like, hey, I'll take delivery of my TQQQ and let's see if we pivot higher, or maybe we make a run at this 20-day simple moving average. And then let's see on the stock side, all I did today was I closed out the second half of my BXC trade for 79.42. Let me see, somebody's calling. Excuse me. So I closed out the second half of this trade, closed out the first half for a big winner, closed out the second half for a loser, netted out to a plus 1.95% winner. This stock, for whatever reason, like it's just not really exciting me. I want to make sure that I'm really just like sticking with the best opportunities. And BXC, it's a home builder stock. Overall, does this thing look bad? No, not really. And it reported good earnings. They announced an accelerated buyback, but I just said, hey, like this stock, for whatever reason, I'm just going to rotate out of it. You know, I don't know how I feel about these home builders at the moment. That said, I'm going to put this one right back on my watch list because this one shapes up. We are still pretty close to the all-time highs. But yeah, once I freed up that buying power, I was able to take my SPY calls. So yeah, pretty much everything worked out pretty well this season. I mean, a bunch of my longs didn't get shaken out of anything. And honestly, now that we have options expiration out of the way, I think this really could make the way for a more durable bottom. And shout out to Trader X. Let me go through this real quick before we wrap. So he wanted me to talk about, and this is an amazing point to bring up, something that we've been watching really closely. S&P 500, this retested the lows and undercut it. But look here, the ARK Innovation ETF, did that do the same? Nope. The ARK Innovation ETF did not retest its lows. And I think that's very apt for him to be looking at, because that price action really just shows you that, you know, which group probably has the more upside, growth and innovation stocks or the S&P 500. Growth and innovation stocks, it's tough for people to believe, but these, as of the moment, they're showing the most relative strength, honestly. And let's look at IWM small caps as well. This was another sign for me that something different is happening in the market. And while everyone is thinking that there's going to be a crash, there's more than likely a short-term bottom forming. The small caps, same exact thing. They did not retest their lows. So yeah, if you're in the price action every day, you're going to pick up on these nuances. If you're not, you are not. With that being said, that about does it for this video. If you're a Pristine Capital member, stay tuned. I'm going to be putting out my weekend market analysis video as well as our weekend watch list video. Those are going to come out this weekend. If you're not a member, please go ahead, check us out at pristinecapital.net. Go ahead, get yourself signed up. If you'd like to work in a trading group, you want to hang out with us, whatever, no pressure. Hope you all have an awesome rest of your evening. I will see you all next time.